The notification came at 6:47 a.m. on a Wednesday. I was in bed, half asleep, reaching for my phone to silence the alarm. But it wasn't my alarm. It was an email from my mortgage company. The subject line read, "Notice of default, immediate action required." I sat up so fast I knocked my water glass off a nightstand. I opened the email. The words blurred together at first, then snapped into focus like a punch to the throat. Failure to pay, second lien. $347,000. Foreclosure proceedings. $347,000. A loan I never took. Against the house I thought I owned. My name is Maya. I'm 31 years old, and I'm a senior cybersecurity analyst at a tech startup in Seattle. My entire job is finding breaches, unauthorized access, forged credentials, stolen identities. I spend 60 hours a week protecting strangers from digital theft. And I never saw the analog version coming from inside my own family. If you're listening to this, and you've ever been the one person in your family everyone turns to when things fall apart, you need to hear what happened next. Hit that subscribe button if you've ever felt like your family saw your success not as something to celebrate, but as something to harvest. This wasn't the first time. That's the part that burns. My family had a system. It wasn't written down anywhere, but it was ironclad. My older brother Derek was the visionary, the one with the big ideas, the one who was going to make it big any day now. And I was the responsible one. Which sounds like a compliment until you realize it's actually a job title. An unpaid one. My earliest memory of this dynamic, I was 12. I had saved $400 from odd jobs around the neighborhood, lawn mowing, dog walking, car washing in the summer heat. I was going to buy my first real computer. Not a hand-me-down, not a school loaner. Mine. 2 days before I had enough, my father sat me down at the kitchen table. He had that look, the one he used when he was about to frame theft as generosity. "Maya, your brother has an incredible opportunity," he said. "A summer business camp, Stanford. It could change his life. We need $400 for the deposit." He smiled. Family helps family, right? I handed over the money. Every single dollar. Derek went to the camp. He came back with a tan and a polo shirt and zero business skills. I never got a thank you. I never got the money back. I learned to mow lawns again. That was the beginning of my role, the family's silent investor. By 18, I had learned to survive by being useful. I got a full scholarship to the University of Washington, not because my parents couldn't afford tuition, but because they wouldn't. "You're smart, you'll figure it out," my mother Patricia said brightly. We need to focus our resources on Derek's ventures. He was 21 and on his first failed startup, some kind of app for rating local pizza places. It never launched. I worked 2 jobs through college, barista mornings, IT help desk nights. I graduated with a 3.9 GPA and 0 debt. My parents didn't come to the ceremony. They were at Derek's product launch, a rented conference room and a PowerPoint deck. No product ever launched. I moved to Seattle for a job at a growing cybersecurity firm. I worked my way up from junior analyst to senior specialist. I saved every spare dollar. Not for vacations or luxury. For security. For proof that I had built something that was mine. 5 years ago, I bought my house. A modest 3-bedroom in Ballard, a quiet neighborhood with tree-lined streets. The down payment was $87,000, a decade of discipline, sacrifice, and saying no to everything except the future. The day I got the keys, I sat on the empty living room floor and cried. Not from happiness, from relief. I finally had something they couldn't take. Or so I thought. The gift came 2 years ago. My parents called me on a Sunday night. This was unusual. They only called when they needed something. But this time, their voices were different. Warm, almost nervous. "Maya," my mother said, "we've been doing a lot of thinking. About family. About legacy." She paused. "We want to give you the deed to our house." I was silent. Their house was a 4-bedroom colonial in a decent suburb. It had been paid off for years. "Why?" I asked. "We're getting older," my father said. "And you're the responsible one. Derek's not ready for that kind of responsibility. We want it to go to you. For safekeeping. For safekeeping. Not as a gift. As a storage unit. But I was tired of being suspicious. Tired of waiting for the other shoe to drop. Maybe this was their way of finally seeing me. Of saying thank you. So I agreed. I signed the paperwork they sent over, quickly, without reading every line. I was a cybersecurity expert, and I fell for the oldest social engineering trick in the book. Trust the sender. The deed transferred. I was now the legal owner of their home. They continued living in it, rent-free. I paid my own mortgage and started putting aside money to help them with maintenance. I thought I was being a good daughter. I was being set up. The red flags started 6 months before the default notice. First, my credit score dropped 40 points. I checked for errors. None. Just a hard inquiry from a lender I didn't recognize. Second, my father started asking strange questions. How's the equity in the Ballard house? Have you thought about a line of credit? Lots of people use them for investments. Third, my brother Derek appeared at Thanksgiving, a rare event, and spent the entire dinner talking about his new venture. A cryptocurrency platform. Revolutionary, he said. Totally secure. I've already got investors. I felt a cold finger trace down my spine. In my job, revolutionary crypto platform, plus, already got investors, equals one thing: fraud. But I said nothing. I was the responsible one. I kept the peace. And then, on a quiet Wednesday morning, the default notice arrived. I called the mortgage company at 7:01 a.m. I was put on hold for 22 minutes. I used the time to run a title search on my house. What I found stopped my heart. There was a second lien on my property. A home equity line of credit, AHELOC, for $350,000. Taken out 11 months ago. The signature on the application was mine. Except I had never signed it. I had never applied for it. I had never seen this document in my life. Someone had forged my name. Someone had stolen nearly $350,000 using my house as collateral. And that someone had my social security number, my date of birth, my signature on file from the deed transfer I had signed 2 years ago. The lender was a private firm. The kind that doesn't ask too many questions if the paperwork looks right. I pulled up the address associated with the loan disbursement. The money hadn't gone to me. It had gone to a business entity, Apex Digital Ventures LLC. I knew that name. It was Derek's company, his cryptocurrency platform. My hands were shaking, but my mind was ice. I opened a new spreadsheet. I labeled it Red Ledger. And I started to dig. In cybersecurity, we have a term, kill chain. It's the sequence of steps an attacker takes to breach a system: reconnaissance, weaponization, delivery, exploitation, installation, command and control, actions on objective. Every attack follows the pattern. And once you see it, you can trace it backwards. This was a kill chain. And my family had executed it perfectly. Step 1. Reconnaissance. My parents spent years watching me. They knew my income, my savings, my property values. They knew I didn't check my credit weekly. They knew I trusted family documents. Step 2. Weaponization. The deed transfer. For safekeeping, they said. But what it really did was put my signature on file. My real signature, with a title company. That signature was now reference material. Forgery fuel. Step 3. Delivery. The HELOC application. Sent to a private lender who specialized in fast approvals. All the documents looked legitimate because they were built on legitimate bones. Step 4. Exploitation. My house, my $580,000 house, was used as collateral for a loan I never took. Step 5. Installation. The money, $347,000 after fees, was wired to Apex Digital Ventures, Derek's company. My father was listed as co-owner. Step 6. Command and control. My family now had $350,000. And I had a foreclosure notice. Step 7. Actions on objective. They had gotten what they came for. And they assumed I would do what I always did: pay to fix it. But I wasn't going to pay. Not this time. I didn't call my parents that morning. I didn't call Derek. I called a lawyer. Her name was Rebecca Thornton. I found her through a cybersecurity colleague whose family had been hit by a similar fraud. She's not warm, he warned me. But she's a weapon. I called her office at 8:30 a.m. Her assistant put me through immediately. Rebecca's voice was like her reputation, sharp, controlled, and completely devoid of sentimentality. Ms. Chen, tell me everything. Spare no detail. I did. I told her about the deed transfer, the forged signature, the HELOC, Derek's company, the default notice. I told her about the pattern, the 20 years of being the family ATM. I told her about the computer money, the scholarship, the $35,000 bridge loan I gave them 5 years ago that was never repaid. When I finished, there was silence. Then she spoke. Ms. Chen, this isn't a family dispute. This is federal mortgage fraud, wire fraud, and identity theft. We're not talking about civil court. We're talking about the FBI. I felt a cold clarity settle over me. The same feeling I get when I finally find the breach in a system. Good, I said. What's the first step? You need to freeze your credit immediately. Then we file a police report with Seattle PD. Then I'm going to contact a colleague at the Bureau's Financial Crimes Unit. And then, she said, her voice dropping to something almost like satisfaction, we're going to follow the money. The next 72 hours were a blur of documentation. I froze my credit with all 3 bureaus. I filed an online police report and went downtown to file in person. I printed every bank statement, every title document, every email my parents had sent me about the house. I created a secure folder on my laptop and labeled it evidence. But it was Rebecca who found the real bomb. She called me on Friday night. Her voice was different, tight, urgent. Maya, I need you to sit down. I sat. My forensic accountant traced the Apex Digital Ventures disbursement. The $347,000 didn't stay in Derek's company. Within 2 weeks, it was moved, split across 3 accounts. One was your father's personal checking. One was a brokerage account in your mother's name. And one, she paused, one was a crypto wallet controlled by Apex. Maya, that wallet received over $2.1 million in the last 18 months. From 74 different investors. The number hit me like a physical blow. 2.1 million. 74 people. That's not a startup, I whispered. That's a Ponzi scheme. Correct. Your brother has been running a classic affinity fraud, targeting people in tech communities, church groups, online forums. Promising 30% returns, using new investor money to pay old investors. And your $347,000, the money stolen from your house, was used to keep the scheme afloat for another quarter. I couldn't breathe. This wasn't just family betrayal. This was a criminal conspiracy. And I was the unwitting fuel. There's more, Rebecca said. The SEC opened a confidential inquiry into Apex 2 months ago. Derek doesn't know it yet, but he's about to be indicted. And when he is, they're going to trace that $347,000 straight back to the fraudulent HELOC on your house. Which has my forged signature on it, I said. My voice sounded far away. Exactly. If you don't get ahead of this, you won't just lose your house. You could be named as a co-conspirator. The room tilted. I gripped the edge of my desk. Tell me what to do. We file criminal complaints against your parents and brother. We cooperate fully with the FBI. We provide them everything, your documentation, the forensic trace, the forgery evidence. And we make it absolutely, legally clear that you are the victim, not the participant. Do it, I said. Do all of it. The next morning, I drove to my parents' house. Not to confront them, not yet. I wanted to see it. This house I now legally owned, this house they had used as bait. I parked across the street and sat in my car. It looked the same as it always had. White siding, blue shutters, a lawn my father never mowed himself. A picture of suburban success. A lie. I thought about all the money I had poured into this family. The $400 when I was 12. The scholarship I earned so they could fund Derek. The $35,000 bridge loan they never repaid. The decade of my life I spent as their financial safety net, their silent partner, their emergency fund. And they had repaid me by forging my name and stealing $350,000. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel angry. I felt something colder, clarity. They had never seen me as a daughter. I was a resource, a line of credit with a heartbeat. And when they needed more than I was willing to give, they simply took it. I started my car and drove away. I didn't look back. The FBI moved faster than I expected. Within 2 weeks of Rebecca filing our report, agents from the Seattle field office contacted me. They were professional, thorough, and very interested in my documentation. I handed over everything: the red ledger, the title records, the forensic trace from Rebecca's accountant, my own timeline of the fraud. "You're not a suspect," Agent Delgado told me. "You're the victim, and frankly, your records are better than what most of our analysts put together." I almost laughed. Of course they were. I'd been trained to find breaches. I'd just never expected to find one in my own family. The agents executed search warrants on a Tuesday morning. They hit Derek's apartment in Bellevue. They hit my parents' house, my house, at the same time. I wasn't there. I was at work, trying to focus on a firewall configuration while my phone buzzed silently in my pocket. Rebecca called me at noon. "It's done. They arrested Derek at his apartment. Your parents were detained at the house. They found evidence of additional victims, handwritten ledgers, cash in a safe, burner phones. This isn't just going to be mortgage fraud. This is racketeering." I sat down in my office chair. My hands were steady. My heart was not. "What happens now?" "Arraignment tomorrow. I'll be there. You don't have to be." "I want to be," I said. The courtroom was cold and bright. I sat in the back row, behind a woman I didn't recognize. Derek was brought in first, in an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs. He didn't look at me. He looked at his lawyer, a public defender he couldn't afford to replace. My parents came in next. My mother's face was swollen from crying. My father looked smaller than I remembered, his shoulders hunched, his jaw tight. He scanned the room. He found me. Our eyes met. And in that moment, I saw it. Not shame, not remorse. Anger. How dare I didn't look away. I held his gaze until he broke it. The charges were read aloud. Wire fraud, mortgage fraud, identity theft, conspiracy to commit securities fraud. For Derek, there was an additional count: operating an unregistered investment scheme. Bail was set at $75,000 for each of my parents. $250,000 for Derek. My mother sobbed. My father stood rigid, staring straight ahead. I left before they were led away. I didn't need to see any more. The trial took 4 months. The evidence was overwhelming. The forged signature was analyzed by a handwriting expert who testified it was a deliberate imitation of my authentic signature. The title company employee who processed the HELOC admitted under oath that the paperwork looked legitimate. The forensic accountant laid out the money trail in devastating detail, from my house, to Derek's company, to 74 defrauded investors. My parents tried to claim they didn't understand the documents. Derek tried to claim the investment was legitimate but mismanaged. None of it held. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. Guilty. All counts. All 3 defendants. My mother collapsed in her seat. My father just sat there, frozen. Derek's head dropped to his chest. Sentencing was 6 weeks later. The judge was not sympathetic. Derek. 7 years federal prison, $2.3 million in restitution. Richard. 4 years federal prison, $350,000 in restitution. Patricia. 2 years federal prison, reduced for cooperation, $50,000 in restitution. The gavel came down. I watched my family be led away in handcuffs. My mother looked at me as she passed, her eyes pleading. I felt nothing. It's been 14 months since the sentencing. I'm sitting on the back porch of my house in Ballard, my house, free and clear. The fraudulent HELOC was voided by the court. The title was cleaned. The lender that approved the loan without proper verification was fined $1.2 million and shut down. I didn't rebuild my family. I built a new one. Rebecca, my lawyer, became a friend. She introduced me to Grace Nakamura, a retired forensic accountant whose late husband was swindled by my father 20 years ago. Grace had been waiting 2 decades for Richard Chen to face justice. She cried when the verdict came in. We have dinner together every few weeks now, Rebecca, Grace, and me. We don't talk about my parents. We talk about work and travel and the shelter dogs Grace is always fostering. I also started something new. A nonprofit that helps victims of family financial fraud, people whose parents stole their identities, whose siblings forged their names on loans, whose trust was weaponized against them. We call it Secure Ground. We provide free forensic accounting, legal referrals, and credit repair support. Last month, we helped a 24-year-old woman whose mother had opened 11 credit cards in her name. The debt was $93,000. We got every account closed and every dollar discharged. She sent me a card that said, "Thank you for believing me." That card is on my fridge. I got a letter from my father 3 months ago. It was handwritten, sent from the Federal Correctional Facility in Oregon. It was one paragraph. No apology. No acknowledgement of what he did. Just this: "You have destroyed this family. You chose strangers over blood. I hope you can live with that." I read it once. Then I put it through my shredder. He still doesn't understand. He never will. I didn't destroy the family. He did, the moment he decided that his daughter was a resource, not a person. The moment he forged my name and stole my security. The moment he made me choose between my peace and his comfort. I chose my peace. If you're listening to this, and you've ever been the one everyone in your family turns to when they need money, or a cosign, or a small favor that never gets repaid, I want you to know something. You are not obligated to set yourself on fire to keep them warm. Blood is not a contract. Trust is earned, not inherited. And love, real love, doesn't come with a transaction fee. My name is Maya Chen. I am a cybersecurity analyst. I am the founder of Secure Ground. And I am no longer my family's emergency fund. I am finally, fully, mine. Thank you for watching. If this story meant something to you, please like and subscribe. And if you've ever had to protect your future from the people who were supposed to protect you, share your story in the comments below. You are not alone.